Australia's wool industry is on a new track, one that does away with masses of paperwork, quite a bit of manual labour and age-old methods of handling wool.
At the moment, most of the on-farm branding we do of bales is pretty much unchanged since we were sending wool back to England to be processed under sale.
The technology itself is really important in terms of propelling the industry forward.
This digital transformation begins at farm level. As part of a national scheme, wool producers have begun to use new wool packs fitted with digital codes, such as here at Branxholme in Western Victoria, prime wool-growing country, where the White family is in the middle of shearing its flock of fine merino wethers. This year's shearing looks no different from last year's, but for one small, crucial difference: how the wool is parcelled up. This is what the new wool packs look like.
So the main thing that's going to change is just the label that growers will be familiar with that's on the top of the packs or the top of the packaged bales.
We've got a QR code on the new ones, and then we've got the RFID card in underneath the flap as well.
QR codes and RFID, or radio frequency identification, can convey an enormous amount of information in a millisecond. It's what allows us to scan barcodes on items.
So how are these new packs different to the ones you've been used to?
Well, these new packs, you have to scan them now through the Wool Clip app, and it's not just simple write on them and then that's it done. You've got to go over, scan the barcode on them and then fill the information in on the Wool Clip app as well. So it's a little bit more work.
The onus mostly falls on the wool classer, whose crucial role is to assess, grade and sort each fleece according to its quality and characteristics, then ensure it's matched and packaged with wool of a similar standard. This technology safeguards against costly errors, such as the mislabelling of bales.
Because once you scan it, that wool pack, you can't double it up really, because if it's already been scanned, it's going to come up. So be minimising errors now.
This may seem like a rather small advance, but really this technology will have an impact all the way from the paddock through to the final product.
Firstly, creating and having a unique bale number for each wool bale will actually add to the traceability of the product, particularly as it goes through the supply chain, and allows us to do it electronically rather than by paper methods or older systems.
E-bales officially come into use from July 1st.
Every bale that's imported to Australia will be equipped with the new e-labels, and there'll obviously be a phase out of stocks that are in store or that growers have on property.
It would likely take several years for the change to fully occur.
So I suppose it's technology coming to the wool shed, which is really good to see. Like, we're always looking for new ways to make things more efficient and speed the process up, and also does take out the chances of any discrepancies with, misdescribed bales and duplicate bales. So that's certainly a big plus.
This is the Yass Wool Store, an hour's drive north of Canberra. It's a wool brokers and receival depot in the midst of a renowned wool-growing district. And it gives you some idea of the massive logistics required in keeping track of the annual wool clip, an industry last year worth $3.6 billion to the Australian economy. Adam, there's a lot of information on a wool pack, but how will the new system kind of make it more efficient?
So the new system's going to give us a single reference that can follow the wool through the supply chain from the farm right through to the scour. Currently on farm, wool's identified according to the farm brand, the wool classification, the classes stencil and a bale number. Once the wool then arrives at the broker's warehouse, it's subsequently labelled, as you can see here, with a weight note or a folio number. Then once sale is completed, typically through auction, we have buyer's marks supplied. And when wool finally gets to the point of being shipped or moving to a processor, we can have shipping or export marks supplied. So I've got 3 different traceability identifiers that are applied post-farm that serve different needs, and having that single e-bale reference number follow the wool right through the supply chain just adds this huge level of transparency and efficiency.
We take this type of technology for granted in everyday use. But for the wool industry, the road to realisation has been a long one.
Conceptually, we started back in the late 90s, where the concepts were similar to, in fact, the same as what we have now, but the technology wasn't up to it. and it wasn't affordable. So it actually has taken that time to make sure that we actually have the right technology in place in terms of the RFID itself. The ability at a low cost to actually capture it and transmit it and record it. And we're finally releasing it and started the release early this year.
It had to be embraced by everyone in the industry.
To make sure that all the necessary elements of the system are improved to deliver the outcomes that growers need and the outcomes that our buyers, traders, exporters and offshore customers need. So we've been working quite closely with AWEX, Australian Wool Testing Authority and AWI to make sure that we're all working together so that once we, have new tools come on board, like the e-bales that will come at a slightly increased cost to growers, that the benefits of those increased costs can benefit all of the supply chain members.
The e-bale technology had to be able to work in regions without internet coverage.
The integration of both e-bale, which is the technology, and the app has been a really important link. And what we found is that the wool growers, classes, are getting excited by the fact that they've got a new technology to learn and to help with their professional development. But capturing it on the app is important because the technology has to be able to be used on farm, whether you're in Wi-Fi coverage or not, and be able to transmit that information through to the broker or through to their selling agent.
The Wool app stores the scanned information until it's in Wi-Fi range, when it then gets uploaded. This is Australian Wool Handlers' vast warehouse site at Lara, between Melbourne and Geelong. The company specialises in logistics and warehousing and handles around 1 million bales annually. Around 160,000 of them are moved here from farms across southern Australia.
This is our flagship wool store in Australia. We've got 14 wool stores in Australia, and this one occupies about 120,000 square metres.
That's about 12 hectares of warehouse space.
We cater to about 60% of the wool clip, and that's supported by 400 of our employees around the country, so it's a sizable operation.
Keeping track of every bale is paramount. So too every sample that comes from each bale. Extracted from the core of the bale, bagged and sent to the wool showroom, where wool buyers and exporters assess it and formulate their bids.
We've been super keen on the electronic identification of wool for a number of years, and probably 2 or 3 years ago we took steps pretty much at the request of Chinese processors to get more accurate identification of wool. And we felt at the time that the best place to start the electronic identification was at our packing and dumping facilities in Melbourne and Brooklyn.
The term dumping is somewhat misleading. It doesn't mean the wool is being disposed of. It's actually the process of compacting wool bales from the farm into smaller, tightly bound modules, ready for export in shipping containers. Australian Wool Handlers is excited about what digital technology can replace.
So I think, Mitch, the RFID tag on the bag's going to really be a key enabler for us to really accelerate our program around digitalisation and reams of paperwork, a lot of manual labour. And again, it's not really just to divert or change that labour setup, it's really to divert it away to do more high payoff activities for the individuals and really get them into that technological landscape that really the world is going into.
AWH has its own digital system inside its warehouses.
It's a small RFID tag. It also has QR capability for direct line of sight reading, but the RFID tag has got an inbuilt antenna. There's no data that can be recorded on the tag, but this antenna captures this tag within a radius of 7 to 8 metres, depending on the power setting of the reader that you want to use. So hypothetically, if you're looking for a certain bale, you can put it into the reader and it can scan a 7 metre area and it'll take you straight to it. As an example, that's just one example.
Tracing each bale is not only important for reasons of commerce, it better safeguards the industry should there be an exotic disease outbreak, such as foot and mouth disease. Produce from an infected farm may need to be instantly identified, located and quarantined.
Well, it's important to have that traceability. We talk about a lot in every industry, particularly in agriculture, but when you're recording that information on farm, it gives you that ability to trace it back to the farm or to trace each particular product, in this case wool, each bale as it goes through the supply chain wherever it might be.
And I think that's a big thing for the industry itself. Like with exotic diseases. They're looking to be able to trace wool from the farm, from property to store and eventually to overseas. So it's that traceability is no doubt driving, I'm sure, part of it, as well as increased efficiencies, which we're all looking for as well.
The move the industry has made to an e-pack or using the e-bale technology is the first globally. So as an industry, we're making a big statement about provenance, we're making a big statement about traceability, and this can only be a good thing in terms of competition and for the industry itself.
Increasingly, consumers want to have assurances of the products they're buying. Is the wool in a garment sustainably and ethically grown, for example? Wool producers say this technology is a big step in that direction.
Your customers are certainly looking for more ownership of, a story, and this helps in time, I'm sure, will hopefully help, provide that story about, where the wool has originated from.
The technology will only get better and its capabilities will only get bigger.
Data's king these days, and it's really important that the data really supports the growers, the brokers, the exporters, and ultimately the mills that are receiving this product. So it really is going to be a game changer for the industry, and I think for the better.